How did you come across Frenchify? Why did you decide ki, I want to go forward and study, get the guidance from Frenchify?
Or like on Instagram and all other platforms, and I came across with many teachers. And before joining you, I have even joined some demo classes, and I have taken like many resources. But I came to know that like you were also students, so your journey was almost same like me. So that's why like I got connected with you.
When you saw the result, what was the feeling? Because you've been doing it for a whole year, and you always have that on the back of the mind ki it should happen soon.
Like I was very happy. It was like in morning 4 o'clock. I was just having a dream, like I cleared the exam. I opened up the phone and it was there.
What do you feel about future of immigration? Are they ever going to stop French? Do you feel like it's going to become a big thing, or is it already a big thing?
It's my personal feeling, like maybe for next 5 years the French will always be there.
In terms of your study methodology, what used to be your study routine, or how much time were you investing on regular basis?
I wasn't like having any like strict schedule or something like that, because I was working in food industry, so it was very stressing.
What happens is they sometimes remain too much stuck on grammar, or they're not able to move forward. They're like, okay, मेरी conjugations भी मुझे properly हो जाएं, सारे rules भी मुझे properly याद हो जाएं, and everything like I just have to properly understand first in order to move forward. What advice would you give them? Ki, is that thing important, or is it important to just like know some grammar and move forward?
I would say like if you know the overall concept, that should be good enough. Because अगर आप ये सोचोगे कि I have to do everything, like I have to remember every rule, that's not possible.
Today, I would like to welcome Sukhpreet into this video. How are you, Sukhpreet? How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing good as well. First of all, congratulations for clearing your TEF Canada exam. You cleared the exam in second attempt. First attempt you gave in October, in the end of October, and second attempt you gave in January, in the beginning of 2026, and you cleared it. I'll tell the score, and the score is really great. Reading you got CLB 11, listening also you got CLB 11, reading is C2, listening is C1, and then writing you got C1 as well, which is CLB 9, and then speaking you got B2, which is CLB 7. Such a good score, Sukhpreet. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. First of all, thank you so much. And I'm feeling great, of course, because it has been an year since I was studying French. So yeah, that's great.
Perfect, good. When you saw the result, what was the feeling? Because you've been doing it for a whole year, and I know ki you are always like, okay, yaar, ab ho jana chahiye, now it should happen, or you always have that on the back of the mind ki it should happen soon. And once you saw the result, what was your expression, or what was your emotions like?
Yeah, I was very happy. It was like in morning 4 o'clock. I was just having a dream, like I cleared the exam. I opened up the phone and it was there. Yeah, and I messaged you as well. So yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Very good, very good. And in terms of your profile, so Preet, yeah, first let's, I would like you to introduce yourself, and then we'll talk a little bit more about your profile as well. So yeah, how did you start learning French, and were you on work permit? So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I would firstly like to tell like when I came to know about French, it was in 2023, I guess. Yeah, when I saw that there's something called French, like we have extra points for French. Before that, I wasn't aware about that. And then it was in 2024, I thought, okay, maybe I'll learn it one day. But I was thinking like it won't be possible for me, and I was also having many other options for PR. But and then in 2024 they started introducing new rules and everything. Then I thought I have to learn it, and it was in September 2024. Then I finally made the decision, okay, I'll go for it.
Okay, sounds good. Now I know even like you are the one who learned French and now cleared the exam. Do you feel like the future of immigration? What do you feel about future of immigration? Are they ever going to stop French? Do you feel like it's going to become a big thing, or is it already a big thing?
It's already a big thing, we all know, right? It's my personal feeling, like maybe for next 5 years the French will always be there, but after 5 years maybe we will see like highest score, highest draws coming out for French, as many people are learning French now. So yeah.
And when you started, did you ever thought that ki, like what if after I clear, or before my exam, before I give my exam, what if the draws start going very, very high, or they close the draws or something like that?
No, I have never felt like that, because I'm very active for immigration things. I'm always like researching and all that stuff, and I knew that even if like scores goes up, I'll still be able to meet it, because I was having I think almost 3 years experience, so I know like I'll be able to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, good. No, that's good. So let's talk about, definitely we'll dive into programs as well and discuss more about your A1, A2, B1, B2 journey. But overall, while you were working on your work permit, you were working full time. With that, you were learning French as well, right?
Yeah.
How was that experience?
Yeah, so I would say like for starting it was difficult, especially like to sit down every day. Consistency was like a difficult point for me, but I was able to do it because you had the recorded session and all that stuff. So I could do it according to my schedule, so which helped me a lot. Yeah.
Good, good. And I want to talk about your timeline as well, because that is also very, very impressive. Because on work permit now, usually when we have enough time, we are like, okay, I'll keep on learning slowly. But for you, in total, the active learning took just about 12 to 13 months to clear the exam. You started with A1 in 2024, around in the end of 2024. But then you next year you wanted to start A2, but there was a gap because you went to India. But then from February to April 2024, you revised A1, A2 properly, and then you started B1. You did B1 for 4 months from May to August, and then you went on to B2, a proper B1 and B2 exam prep. Then you went on to B2. That also took 4 months from September to December, and 7th January after that you gave the exam and cleared the exam in your second attempt. So if we take out your pause which happened when you were in India, it total took you about 13 months to get done with the exam, which is a great timeline being on work permit, because on work permit, usually students get very busy when they're working full time. So in terms of your study methodology, what used to be your study routine, or how much time were you investing on regular basis to ki like, okay, आज मैं पढ़ने बैठ रही हूँ, इतना time तो मुझे देना ही है. Did you used to have that rule kind of stuff?
Yeah. So I wasn't like having any like strict schedule or something like that for A1. When I started, like I was thinking maybe I'll do 1 hour, but sometime after my work, because I was working in food industry, so which was very stressing. So sometime I wasn't able, but I would say on an average, it was around 1 or 2 hours every day. We can put it. Some days I was studying for 4 to 5 hours too, but yeah, so on an average it would be 1 or 2 hours for starting.
Correct. And I think that's very important, because rather than always trying to be very intensive in the study, it's very important to be more consistent rather than more intensive. Because when you are just intensive, you're like, okay, you'll sit for one day, you'll sit for 2 days, and you'll be able to like study 4 or 5 hours those days, but then your motivation will wear off. Then what is I believe what is more important is ability to consistently do it for longer duration. Like as you mentioned, like you averagely put in around like 1-2 hours, sometimes 4-5, but average time was around 2 hours. Now with that as well, getting it done in like 12 to 13 months is a very good time frame. So as long as one is consistent, I think they'll be able to still see very good results.
Yeah, because consistency is very important. Like even if for like 10 minutes, I would say some days if we are not able to do it, even listen a podcast or something, like just stay in touch with language. That's very important.
Correct. Very true. Now, in the beginning, as you mentioned, you saw the updates about French and you were like, okay, this is something which I'll have to start. Now, at that time when you were starting as well, how did you come across Frenchify? Why did you decide like I want to go forward and study, get the guidance from Frenchify?
Yeah, so I was just researching a lot on like on Instagram and all other platforms, and I came across with many teachers. And before joining you, I have even joined some demo classes, and I have taken like many resources. But I came to know that like you were also students, so your journey was almost same like me. So that's why like I got connected with you, and then I have already I think I taken your free course as well. I think you have something for free, right? So I have, yeah, and then I feel like that's something that can work for me, because I don't have to don't have to change my schedule. for the like live classes or something like that. So that's why I thought like this could be like helpful for me, because you always I think you had some special tips for Indians, right? So because yeah, so that's why I decided to go for you. Yeah.
Correct. Okay, sounds good. And when you started from the beginner programs, specifically our A1 and A2 intensive program, how was the study structure, and what did you like about those? How did it help you? Like what were you expecting, and how did it help you in your overall French learning journey?
Yes. Yeah. So for the beginning, I would talk about A1 or A2. So I was like कि आपके lecture जो थे, that was very short, right? So like maximum 1 hour, I would say, and it was in like multiple parts. So we are going one by one. So one day I have watched one lecture, then I'll work on it, and then next you will revise it again as well. You will talk a little about like that's what we have done in the last video, and that's what we are going to do next. So that way I was able to bring the all the things that I learned yesterday and then put it in today as well, and learning something new. So yeah.
Sounds good. Perfect. Sounds good. And while doing that, when you are studying A1 and A2, now there are two very important components. One is grammar and one is vocabulary. Because not only it's important to learn grammar, obviously, because that's the structure of the language. With that, it's very important that one is also consuming enough vocabulary. क्योंकि फिर नहीं तो words दिमाग में नहीं रहते. You know the grammar, but then you're like, okay, if I read this, ये भी समझ नहीं आ रहा, ये भी समझ नहीं आ रहा. And it's not because कि we don't know the verbs, we don't know the conjugation, it because कि वो words ही नहीं समझ या पता ही नहीं उनके बारे. So when you were a beginner, how much were you focusing on understanding the grammar, and how much were you focusing on कि okay, reading listening भी साथ के साथ हो जानी चाहिए?
Okay, so for A1 though I was only thinking about grammar, because grammar is my weakest point, to be honest, with any language, even with English. So I can learn it by heart, but it's very hard for me to remember the rules. So I was focusing on grammar because I knew that maybe vocab I can learn like after some time naturally. I can consume more vocab. So my main focus was on grammar, to be honest. But you had some vocab in A1, A2 courses. That was all I was doing, nothing extra.
Okay. And I think that's also more than enough, because sometimes the thing is कि we get too much excited कि okay, मैं course भी करूँगा और मैं फिर उसके बाहर जो resources हैं वो भी करूँगा. But I think sometimes that becomes counterproductive, because then you already have course material to do. It's better to stick to it, and as long as you do that, that should be good enough to make you progress further. Outer resources not needed unless you are doing self-study, because in self-study you don't have a clear path. You do have to consume a lot of resources to understand which resource works the best for me.
Yeah.
So Sukhpreet, there are some students, people those who are starting their language learning, those who are at A1 and A2. What happens is they sometimes remain too much stuck on grammar, or they're not able to move forward. They're like, okay, मेरी conjugations भी मुझे properly हो जाएं, सारे rules भी मुझे properly याद हो जाएं, and everything like I just have to properly understand first in order to move forward. What advice would you give them? Is that thing important, or is it important to just like know some grammar and move forward?
I would say like if you know the overall concept, that should be good enough. Because अगर आप ये सोचोगे कि I have to do everything, like I have to remember every rule, that's not possible. Like especially for me, it wasn't possible. So I have learned many rules even at B1, even at B2, even before my exam, right? So if you know overall idea or overall concept, that should be good enough. Because if you will think like I have to learn everything before moving to B1, you will overexhaust yourself, and it will feel difficult. I would say if there is something you're not understanding, it's okay. You will learn it at B1, because then you have a deeper, understanding of the language. So yeah.
True. Another thing which beginners are very much interested in, or I would say they are very much worried about, is speaking. Should they be doing speaking when they are at A1, A2?
Because I think for us, we started a little bit speaking at A2. Like just normal conversation. We were recording monologues. I feel like that should be good enough, because it feels like when I started, I was also like I'm only learning like grammar. There's nothing like this listening, reading. There's nothing like that. So how is that going to be possible? But I would say just trust the process. You will for A1, just don't think too much about these things. For A2, just start little bit.
Yeah.
Whatever in the course is already included, I think that's good enough, and that's well structured. We feel like it's not enough, but it's enough if we can
Correct.
do it properly. Yeah.
Yeah, true. Okay. And when what would you advise to a student who is moving from their beginner phase, which is around A2, to B1? Because the language changes drastically in the program as well. The methodology of learning changes a lot. So, what would you advise to students those who are in the middle of this transition on how to make this transition easier?
Okay, I would say for me, it was mainly about speaking and listening. I was listening a lot of podcast and all that stuff. So I would say, yeah, just get comfortable with listening. It's not like that you have to understand each and every word, but if you're even getting the overall idea what they're talking about, that's good enough. And the same for the speaking. Like you're
Hmm.
able to communicate the normal things. But for me, because I started practicing speaking with my study partner at from A2 level when we were studying, as we were recording the monologues, and that helped me a lot. I would say it's always helpful if you have somebody to help you in starting. If you are like doing speaking from starting, that will help you a lot in B1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sound awesome. Chalo, ठीक है. Now let's discuss about our exam specific preparation. Sukhpreet. Now we were talking about beginner levels. Now let's move on to how higher levels looks like when it comes to preparation, or what are the things we should keep in mind when we are preparing, when we are learning higher level French, but also when we are preparing for the exam. So when you started at B1. How did the B1 how did the study in B1 changed from the basic study that you were doing earlier?
It was completely different, especially writing. So I was
Hmm.
like that, for every time we are getting different topic and we don't know like specific vocab, right? So
Yeah.
because section A is a bit tricky, so you have to build a story. And you need to know some vocab. So for starting, for around I think 15 days, we were like, what's happening? Like how we would be able to do writing, right? But slowly we built up some confidence, and then it was fine. Yeah, but it's completely different because that's the actual language now. You have to listen, you have to read, you have to speak right, and it was a bit difficult to give enough time to each module. So yeah.
Perfect. Sounds good. And now at B1 you also start speaking. So when you did your first couple of speaking practices and speaking sessions, how did that how did that make you approach the language differently? Because generally what happens is it humbles you when you're like, okay,
Yeah.
like fumbling is happening or I'm not able to formulate the sentences. So how did you go through that phase in the beginning when you just started doing the speaking practices?
Yeah, so for B1, actually, as I told you before, I started speaking from A2.
Hmm.
So from A2, me and Jay, we both were doing like section A practice already. So
Good.
it wasn't correct, but we were doing it. We were asking question and all that stuff. So that helped us a lot. So definitely we learned new structure. We learned like what type of questions we need to ask. But it's been easy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Correct. And I remember, in I had an interview with Jay as well that will come before your video. And in that interview, Jay has specifically mentioned that, me and Sukhpreet, we used to practice so much, and Sukhpreet helped me a
Mm.
lot in speaking because you guys have been, once you guys were in A2, you guys have been study partners since then, and you were working on speaking and connecting with each other to practice your language since then. So, what would you say is an importance of study partner when it comes to practicing your language, specifically speaking and staying accountable overall?
It's very important, I would say, because like definitely we learn a lot in class, but the practice you do by yourself, that's very important, because at the end of the day, it's your self study that matters a lot, right? So even if Vyom told you something in class, right, and you're not practicing it later, then that won't make any sense. You are just taking the classes, right? So for me, Jay has been a great help because he cleared exam before me, but still he was helping me with speaking practice. And we both had different, like for me, fluency was okay, but for Jay, his grammar and his pronunciation was better than me. For me, pronunciation was the difficult thing. So he knew, like from very starting, he knew like what's my weakest point, and I knew what's Jaz's weakest point, and that helps us a lot. Like every day we are just saying the same thing. Okay, you have to work on this thing, and that eventually that makes you think as well. Okay, I have to really work on this thing now. Yeah.
True. Okay, so that was your overall B1. So, when you are practicing at B1 as well as B2, because both of them are exam specific levels with Frenchify, you are doing exam specific training at both. Uh, what would you recommend in terms of practice? Let's first talk about reading and listening. What will be your advice for students to make sure to do these things if you want to have a good level of listening and speaking when you're doing exam prep or when you are going through B1 and B2 Frenchify programs?
Yeah, because at B1, like it's very important for you to consume a lot of content, like as you recommended us, like you have to, I think, read around 3,000 words in 2 hours, right? And I was following that, and I would say that's very important because in exam we have some long paragraphs as well. So if you have built enough speed, then you will be able to do it, and also you will able to understand like what actually I have to look in those paragraphs, right? So like news articles and all that stuff for reading is very important because that's actually the things that comes in exam too.
Yeah.
That sorts of paragraphs. So I would say like if you're reading like simply, that's good too. But if you want to do something extra, if you have some time, as Pulkit used to do, he would take some paragraph from like La Figaro or any website and then ask ChatGPT to make some questions on that and then answer that. That's actually like exam level prep. You're answering the questions too, so you can do that as well. And for listening as well, podcast and the news websites are very important, especially RFI, I would say. Yeah, for RFI, I have noticed that like there's one question 29 to 30 that is most difficult for me because the audio is for 3 minutes, right? And they will play it only once, and that always comes from RFI. So listening and reading is very important for starting at B1 because once you get comfortable with listening and reading, you will automatically improve your writing and speaking too.
Correct. And yeah, that also brings me to writing and speaking as well. Like any specific thing you would like to mention to B1, B2 students, those who are prepping for the exam, on what are the things to focus more on for the exam purposes?
Yeah, so for the exam, I would say like firstly, like your of course grammar is very important while you're speaking. Be conscious because that was always problem with me. I knew some grammar rules, but while I'm speaking, I will only focus on idea, and I want like I won't even know like that's what sometime I would say like I have to like you can do it. I in speaking when I listen to my recordings, it's actually I'm saying I can do it, right? So these sort of things I would say just be careful in starting for pronunciation and grammar as well. Of course, fluency and idea is important, but that's important too because you know that, and that would be very silly if you can make these mistakes.
So yeah, because like when we are speaking, those sentences, if we make basic like conjugation, preposition mistakes, those are like A2 level mistakes, A1, A2 level mistakes. And the examiner will be like, oh, okay, these are very basic mistakes that you're making, right? So that will reduce your level. So that is very important in mind. And yeah, let's talk a little bit about speaking sessions as well with Frenchify at B1 as well as B2. How did those sessions help you improve your speaking fluency? Because one of the aspects which you had to work on to improve from your first attempt was also speaking. All right, so how was that feedback helping you? What would you like to say about your experience with those live sessions?
Yes, so live sessions are very important because firstly, I would say we have different instructors, right? So even like Vyom can pick up something, right? Pronunciation, but the other instructor can tell you something else. Right, so slowly and like eventually you will learn like okay for me like I was getting one thing pronunciation from from everyone like you have to focus on pronunciation and reduce your speed a bit. Maybe even I'm like now I'm speaking very fast because that's my natural speed, and that happens with French too. I used to I think you may remember like I used to mix up the words because my speed was a lot. So like when you guys were consistently saying like you have to reduce your speed because that's what making pronunciation mistake and eventually grammar mistakes too. So yeah, that's been like very helpful. After my first exam, I actually started working on that. Like before that, I was listening, but I wasn't doing it enough.
Okay.
Right. So like once I gave my exam, I had to clarity check. Okay.
Yeah, sounds good. And now let's talk about your exam as well. You gave the first attempt, I mentioned the score earlier. I'll just quickly revise it again. CLB 8, reading, listening 6, writing 6, speaking 6. For first attempt as well, it's a very good score because, sometimes people are rushed, but I think you did not rush too much. You were like, okay, I have to properly prepare and then I'll give my first attempt, right? I think that was the motivation behind giving the first attempt. And then second attempt, you worked on the mistakes. You achieved even better in reading and listening. You got CLB 11, CLB 11 reading listening, and then writing CLB 9, speaking CLB 7. So now let's talk about exam experience. You traveled to Alberta to Toronto. How was that experience? Because I think it might be a tiring journey. And next day when you went for the exam, how was the overall exam journey?
Yeah, it was actually tiring for me because I was living in Lethbridge, and then firstly I have to come from Lethbridge to Calgary, and then Calgary to Toronto. So like a lot of travel time. Like one day before exam, I was exhausted, and I was practicing speaking as well, just little bit, so that I can stay in touch and I can quickly revise my mistakes before speaking. So yeah, that was difficult, but at the end it was worth it. So that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, now that whole travel is like a positive memory for you because you traveled from there to here and now you cleared the exam, so it becomes a very memory that you're proud of.
Yeah.
Perfect. And yeah, so now let's talk about your you cleared the exam in second attempt, and what were the things, or I would say for the first the aspects which you were weak in the first attempt, how did you build an eye of improving yourself? कि, okay, speaking में 6 है, but this is where I need to work on, which made you go to CLB 7. Writing में 6 है, this is where I worked on, which made me go to CLB 9. So what were the things that you changed for second attempt?
Yes. So firstly, talk about my first attempt. Like for writing, I missed it only by 5 points. And for me, like typing was little difficult. Like typing between that time frame. So that's what happened in my first exam. I wasn't able to proofread anything. So I know like okay, so what if I could have proofread? Then maybe I could have got 7, but at that time I was writing very simple, no subjunctives. Like I was using only one subjunctive in conclusion, as you mentioned. Apart from that, I wasn't using anything, no C clause, nothing at all. And then I thought, okay, maybe I can, if I can add this, maybe I can like achieve 8 or something. So that's what from after that I started using C clause in my every writing. So whenever it's possible, I would put some C clause in it. Okay, so different type of C clause. Like I won't go too deep into it, but C clause and subjunctive. Like I add some like complexity into my writing. And for speaking, I know like that definitely for speaking also for my first exam, I was speaking just normally, no subjunctive, no like high level phrases, nothing at all. And especially pronunciation has been a problem for me always. So after that, I started focusing on my pronunciation, my grammar. I reduced my speed a bit too. So that helped me a lot. Yeah. And for listening as well, yeah, I missed by a few points. So I was like, okay, so if I can just do more mock test and listen more, then I would be able to do it. Yeah, for reading it was okay, so I wasn't focusing too much on reading after my first exam.
Okay, sounds good. And how was the speaking experience in your exam? Was the examiner, was he or she lenient, or how difficult, how strict they were?
For my first exam, my examiner was really good. Like she was helping me a lot. She was friendly. So definitely that helps you to build some confidence, right? You can speak normally. But for my second exam, my examiner was like too cold, like no reaction at all, nothing. He wasn't making even eye contact with me. But yeah, so he wasn't making eye contact at all. So I was like, maybe am I speaking something wrong? Why is not looking into me, right? But still I was able to, and then I thought like he was speaking a lot by himself, because usually examiner will just, they sometimes gives a short response, but he was speaking a lot in section B as well. So I went only 3 arguments in my exam because his arguments was too long. So yeah, I had to actually put some effort in to understand what's his main point. So yeah, but then I got to know, like after my introduction, I got to know like, okay, I will have to put whatever I learned. Like I can't wait for him to give me a chance. So then I put all the phrases I learned, and I think that helped me.
Good. Yeah, because I understand, for if any examiner is a little bit more cold, or they're a little bit more, you can say, rowdy, when it comes to doing the section B, you really have to bring your speaking out as well, because sometimes the big mistake is, okay, becoming timid over there. Oh, this examiner is difficult. I'll try to be polite. You should do opposite. Like, you should be even be, mais c'est pas vrai parce que tu m'as dit auparavant, right? You have to be more expressive in that.
Yeah, maybe you will have to interrupt examiner too.
Correct.
To get your chance, because because it's you're talking to your friend, so you can do it. So that's what I did, because otherwise I could haven't be just sitting for him to give me a chance, because he wasn't giving me a chance. And I think when I interrupted him, he was okay. He wasn't like, oh, no. Like, he was listening to me then.
Okay, sounds good. And now, having cleared TEF exam, what advice would you give to everybody, those who are on this pursuit, those who are on this journey? What did you learn personally in your life when you cleared the exam, and how that advice will benefit other students as well? What would you say on that?
Okay, so I would say like just stay focused. Sometimes it feels like, okay, we feel demotivated, of course, and sometimes it feels like it won't be possible, it's too hard, but just keep continuing. Like one day you will definitely make it. And also, like I would say, just stay in touch with language. But because for me personally, I had many gaps in between, even after B1 too. So you said me like you can move to B2, but I said like I'll wait for 20 days for personal reasons. But I would say just stay like consistent with the language. That's very important. Yeah.
Correct. And some people think it is difficult to learn. Like, French is a difficult language to learn. What is your experience on that? Is it really that difficult? Can it be?
Like when you're learning something new, it would be difficult for starting. But I would say once you're reached around like A2 level, then it will feel like, okay, that's possible. But for me, I had never think like that won't be possible. I was always like, it would be possible. Maybe I'll have to, put more time, but it will be possible. I would say it's difficult, but not impossible. Like, you can do it. Like, we have learned English as well. So, like there are many people who are learning English for immigration purposes when they haven't studied in English, right? But for new generation, they are doing it. But I have seen many people who are learning from scratch. So it's possible, I would say. Like, it's not that difficult. It feels like starting.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sukhpreet. That was a great. It was great talking to you, and congratulations again for clearing your exam. And you got a great score. You should be very proud of it. And I hope that I hope you get your PR soon. And I wish you the best. Thank you so much for this video.
Thank you so much for having me, and I would like to thank you for all your support, because you have been great help. You were always available on WhatsApp and all that stuff. So thank you. Yeah.